Oh, doesn't that look good? I want to learn how to saber that bottle. Oh, maybe we will. Hey, welcome. We have been talking about how much we have fallen in love with Fredericksburg, Texas. And one of the things we keep telling you about is how amazing their wine region is. Well, Austin Kerr's with us. We are in his tasting room, which is on Main Street. And then we're going to talk about the winery. We're going to show you some pictures and videos so that when you come to Fredericksburg, Texas, that you put Coordinates on your list. Austin, thanks for having us.
Oh, thank you for being here. It's wonderful to have you.
This is a beautiful place. I was commenting, beautiful here. It's got a Tuscan feel to it.
A little bit.
It's got this really warm charm to it. And that's what you want, right? You want people to come in and feel welcome. And then you educate them.
Well, we're actually in an historic blacksmith building. This was the first blacksmith shop on Main Street. It's built in 1879.
Wow.
So it's a pretty amazing building, but there's, a lot of issues with buildings that are old like this. So
I bet.
Yeah, the walls are like this thick. You can see.
But if they could talk from the 1800s, what would they tell us?
Oh, man, the stories that they could tell, I'm sure. Built by some of the first German immigrant families to the area. So they toiled and worked pretty hard to get this place built, and it's still here today. I mean, they can make things like that.
If you didn't know, by the way, there's a really deep German tradition and heritage here that you got to check out for sure. We're going to talk about his background, how much he loves to educate, and really a really unique thing, by the way, that he's doing later this afternoon. But as far as this location, this one's been here for a few years?
For 3 years. We opened on 2/2 of 22. And I mean, it's a great little spot here on Main Street. We're a little bit further down in town than a lot of the people end up walking to. So it tends to be typically a bit quieter. We have this beautiful outdoor patio surrounded by grapevines. So it's kind of a nice place to have a tasting or a glass or enjoy a bottle with some friends.
Absolutely. And then you opened your vineyards. That's only been within the last year, hasn't it been?
Yeah, we just opened over a year ago. So it was March 15th of last year that we opened. And the vineyard is a tremendous amount of work, but it is also lovely. It's also an historic home. That was a 1903 Sears Roebuck's house.
Oh, how cool is that? And we're looking at it right now in the vineyards. Yeah. I mean, that property, how much is that? How big is that?
It's not as big as it looks. It's only 2.4 acres. But when we first opened there, it was really just me. So with all the work in the vineyard and around the property and maintaining an old home like that, it was a lot for one person to do.
Congrats. Again, if you're just tuning in, Austin Kerr we're talking about Coordinates. So first of all, where'd the name come from?
Well, that is kind of a long story, but it came from my very first trip to South Africa. I've been working in South African wine for about 11 years now. And the very first time that I went down there, I was trying to source wine for China. So I was living in Taiwan and with a bunch of South Africans and got kind of involved in the wine industry through them and had put together basically this 24-hour trip that I had to be able to source wine for Beijing because I had a connection there. And so I flew down and had arranged for somebody to pick us up at the airport. He took me to all these giant, amazing vineyards in South Africa, but I only had about $20,000 to get that project started. So I knew that if anybody else had $25,000, they were going to, get a better price than I was. So after wasting about half of the day at these big places, he decided or I asked the guy that was driving us around, Anton, he's still a dear friend of mine, to take us to somewhere small and boutique. And he's like, okay, well, I know this guy who's a 5th-generation winemaker. He's been making wine from his family farm, or they've been making wine for 150 years. And he only has his house and he sells to little restaurants and bottle shops. I was like, that's perfect. Take me to this guy, right? So we went over the mountains from Stellenbosch, which is kind of like their Napa Valley, into Paarl, which is more like their Sonoma. And we're driving down this road, and we think we need to get to a road that's kind of parallel to that, but in the middle was just vineyards, as far as you could see. So eventually, as we're driving down, we see that there's a little tractor path through the grapes. And I'm like, oh, we only have 24 hours. Let's take this little tractor path. So we go down this dirt road, but it didn't connect to the other side. And so we either had to back up all the way or try and turn around.
People want wine, Austin.
I know. Sorry. We're even closed today, so it's unusual that we would get a phone call. So as we're driving through the grapes, we get to a point where we have to either back up or turn around. So we're doing this like 50-point turn, trying to turn around. And as soon as we got off the compacted dirt for the tractor, we landed in the alluvial clay for the grapes. So we got stuck in the mud, and me being young and knowing that I had a time crunch, I just pop out and I'm like, okay, I'll push, you steer, let's get us out of here. So I'm pushing on the back of his '94 Civic, and the tires are spinning, and I'm getting speckled with mud. And Anton's just pushing as hard as he possibly can, so hard that his shoe literally explodes out of his foot explodes out of the front of his dress shoe. And it was still tied around his ankle, but his foot was in the mud, and it's raining. It was August, so that's their winter, of course. So we get back into the car, and he's apologizing profusely. Let me take you back to the airport. I'm sorry that none of this worked out. Oh. And I'm thinking, if it didn't happen now, it was never going to come together. Mm-hmm. So he calls this winemaker on the phone, and this is all happening in Afrikaans, but I imagine the conversation was something like, hey, come help us. He's like, okay, well, where are you? I don't know. There's nothing that we can see besides grapes. There's really nothing around. How am I going to come help you if I don't know where you are? 3-4 phone calls back and forth before finally Robert, the winemaker, says, I just had a survey done on my house. See if you can just put the coordinates in, and then you'll know, mm-hmm. We'll be able to know where you are. And this was, early days of the iPhone, and so I didn't realize you could even do that. But we put the coordinates into, Google Maps, and we were only 5 minutes away, and we were able to take some of the canes of the grapes because it was winter time. So we broke those off, put them under the tires, got out, went around the vineyard, showed up at this guy's house, and he poured me the most amazing Pinotage that I have ever had in my life. So
coordinates made sense.
None of this would have ever happened without having those coordinates to get there.
Well, and that's a good thing to talk about, by the way, because people look at a fork in the road or debris in the road, and you could have gotten very upset and, oh my gosh, I'm filled with mud and everything, and I'm back. How are we getting out of here? And just been frustrated. Mm-hmm. But you took all of that and turned it into this aha moment of this was all supposed to happen to bring me to this incredible wine. Yeah. We're going to name it this.
Absolutely. So the coordinates obviously plays an important part. We put coordinates on everything. So this is our vineyard location in High, but the bottles are all tagged with the coordinates of where they actually come from, so that you can look up and see the terroir, the sense of place where the wine is really from.
I love it.
Would you like to try some?
Well, let's do this, yes. So again, Austin Kerr, the owner of Coordinates. Now, it's you and your brother?
That's right, yeah, we own it together.
But your brother's in the medical industry.
He is. He's a plastic surgeon in Austin, so he's the money and I'm the wine guy.
Oh, so he's the silent partner of is he silent?
He's played a really big part in how things look and how they come together. Mm-hmm. He's a serial entrepreneur, so he's helped me in multiple different ways as I learn kind of how to run and grow a business. Mm-hmm. So he's been more than a mentor in a lot of ways.
I love that. And what is your brother's name?
Malin Kerr.
Well, Malin, shout out to you. And I'm glad it's fun because not everybody that's a sibling can work together, but you obviously are making it work. Yes, let's try this. Let's try this best Pinotage you've ever had. Yep. So South African, and I love the tie because we featured the Wolcotts, who own the Wine Barrel Cabins, and their son Grant, who was such a sweetheart when we first met him. He's like, hey, I got a fun story to tell you. I was born in South Africa. And I said, I know, I heard all about that. So they found you and said, you have South African wine. We have a son who was born in South Africa. And how long ago was that the two of you became friends?
Oh, Josh and Carrie came in probably the first few months that we were open. Cheers. They came in really early, had just moved to town not too long before that, and heard that we had South African wine. And of course, with their connection with Grant, we're excited about that. And we just connected right away. I mean, they've lived all over the world, as have I. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of people in the community at Coordinates that are avid travelers and have been out to see the world.
I love it. And so again, some of these wines you've probably never even heard of, let alone tried. So the nose on this, and this is what we love to do when we do our Wet Your Whistles, is to educate, but also to have you have fun, right? So there's one thing about my brother's in the industry, and sometimes people have teased him like, just pour the wine. We just want to drink the wine. Go ahead and do your education. But it's come on, there's so much passion that goes into one bottle of wine that people do want to hear what happened with this. And then, of course, yes, taste it. But I think this is the way to educate is give them some, let them sip on it while you're talking about it. So Pinotage, a lot of people probably never even heard of it.
I would say most people in America have never heard of it. It's a uniquely South African grape that was developed in 1924 by crossing Pinot Noir with Cinsault. Now, most people are familiar with Pinot Noir as one of the ancient grape varieties, but Cinsault is one that we don't see that much. It's a pretty aggressive red grape. It has a thick skin, so the opposite of Pinot Noir. It makes very big and bold wines. But it's grown all over the world, including here in Texas, because it's very commonly used as a blending grape, which kind of adds body to a wine. So say you had a Cab Franc. I know that's one of your favorite wines.
I love Cab Franc, Austin.
So if your Cab Franc as a winemaker just didn't feel quite big enough, you could actually add about 5% Cinsault to that to make it feel bigger or stronger. And that may not even be on the label. So,
what's the percentage of Pinot to Cinsault?
Cinsault.
Cinsault. Yeah, I don't even know that grape.
Cinsault. So it looks different.
I have seen that. Okay, it's
it looks
pronounced
different than it sounds.
Cinsault.
So this is not a blend. This is a genetic cross. It was created by Abraham Pernol, who was the first professor of viticulture and enology in South Africa. He literally wrote the textbook on how to grow wine in South Africa. And so he crossed these two genetically by taking those little tiny grape flowers, one from the Pinot Noir, rubbing it onto the Cinsault, and then tracking that one flower into the grape on that cluster. That grape has 4 seeds in it, planted those seeds in the university garden, and then it took another, well, let's see, it was 1924 when they created it, and the first vintage we saw in 1959.
That's
So
awesome.
wine takes a long, long time to come together.
It does. And you know what? And you have to have patience. And we have been all over talking to different people, whether it was Napa or in Italy. We were just in Italy back in the fall. And it's fun for people to understand, oh, I love that bottle of wine, or I love that particular grape. But for them to understand from beginning to in the bottle, just how many levels of people it took, the time it took, the patience it took. And people think about, you'll love this, getting into the wine industry. Oh, wow, you own a vineyard, you're rich. And then I know, yeah, there it is. And so everybody always goes, honestly, Monica, the whole wine aspect is farming.
Yeah.
And I hear they're farmers.
About 80% of winemaking is cleaning. And
how often do you have boots on and squash?
A lot. Not squashing the grapes anymore. We don't necessarily do that, but I spend a lot of time in boots, particularly in the vineyard, trying to take care of the grapes that we have. And
Clean.
Yeah. So it's really a tremendous amount of work, particularly when you're looking at craft wine. So craft wine to me is something that's made by hand. It's made by people that spend their lives learning how to do that. Everything that we have for the most part is hand-picked and hand-harvested, which means we're individually selecting those clusters off of the vine itself, which is very different than when you get into a 2,700-acre vineyard and harvesters come through and just take everything. So when you have things that are really built by hand, there's more than just the wine. It's the soul that comes with it. Right?
The soul. You know, I'm about
the
that.
love that goes into
Passion. Well, it's just like cooking, baking.
Absolutely.
Where do the best chefs and bakers come from? It's the love that they have inside. And when they have that masterpiece that they put down on the table, it's enjoy the fruits of my labor, which you do the same thing. We're visiting again with Austin Kerr. Coordinates, 2 locations. Main Street, the tasting room, that's been here a few years. And then for a year in March, the vineyards opened up. Again, it's called 290, and there's 100 plus wineries. It's just blowing me away. Some people have said, oh, is it like the next Napa? I want you to think about that for a second. We're going to take a quick break. And when you come back, I'm going to talk about that. And then we also want to welcome you all in. So make sure that you know how to follow them on social media, where to find them on their website. We'll give you all that information. And again, just open your mind. And I just want to tell you before we wrap up today, something special that he's doing, which I think is really, really cool for our seniors. We always want to give back. We want to learn from them because they've lived this incredible life. But he's also going to teach them something really unique. So we'll talk about that. Again, it is our Travel Texas Takeover show that we're doing. And today we're featuring Austin Kerr of Coordinates. This is my wonderful role model, one of my best friends.
She's, oh my gosh, you got a long life. You could probably live to be 130 or something. And I said, oh God, I hope not.
It's getting hot in here. Don't take off all your clothes.
I'm not going to take off my clothes. On the radio tape, going to be
Kansas City, Kansas City, here I come. We're gonna spank. We're gonna speak. We're not gonna spank anybody. We are gonna speak about knowing your value, and then I'm gonna.
I'm going to spank them.
If you don't know your value and you don't grab hold of how important you are, I'm going to spank you. Folks, you never know what you're going to get with her. Welcome back. We are so thrilled that you're part of our show this week. Again, our big travel takeover show from Texas, Fredericksburg, an area that some of you have maybe never even heard of before. But hey, we're putting them on the map to all of you that have never heard of them. But USA Today is calling them one of the top main streets in all of the United States from a foodie standpoint, from wine, from shopping, from the historical aspect. Bring your families. There's something for everyone. So you want to get away with couples, put this on the map. And then when it comes to wine, if you are a wine lover like us, put Coordinates on the map. Again, their tasting room on Main Street, or you can go to their vineyards in High Texas. And we've been talking about the background of Coordinates, but you're doing something really cool. You and I have been talking about this for the last few months for our seniors.
Yeah. So my brother and I both live here in Texas, and my mom, we're thinking about moving her out here as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was just here visiting for about 8 weeks, and we got to tour lots of different 55 plus and independent living centers in the area. So I went to one recently with her to, see about being a resident there, and they convinced me to come and do a tasting. And like Josh said earlier in your segment today, that I've always believed that if you're going to do something, you should do it right.
Excellent. Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, well, if my mom was there, what experience would I want her to have? And so one of the things that we need to be careful about with wine, especially as we get older, is falls. Alcohol can increase your risk of falls. So it's not about consuming a lot of it, but it is about how can we use wine to better our lives? Mm-hmm. So I'm actually going to go teach a class later today about how to use wine tasting to activate every part of your brain to help prevent against memory decline, which is a really kind of an interesting way to look at it and something that I don't think too many people are aware of. But right. With my own medical background and the medical family that I come from, mm-hmm. I thought that's knowledge that I could share that would be useful for them. With the ultimate goal of trying to create a sense of community around wine. So you may have heard of the Mediterranean diet and the French paradox, both of which have recommended red wine to be a part of that.
Is it because of the resveratrol?
So I have a bottle of resveratrol in my car actually to bring to show them. So if it was just for that, we could take it as a supplement without any of the alcohol and get the heart benefits that are supposed to benefit from that. One of the things that they didn't look at in those studies was that in America, roughly 25% of people eat dinner alone. And when you look at Italy and France, that number is almost zero. So wine may not be so much about the health benefits that we get from it, but the community benefits, the social benefits, the fact that most people aren't going to sit down and drink a bottle of wine on their own. It's meant to be shared between people, and shared over dinner. So if wine can help bring us together, then that may help so that, say you need to change a light bulb in your house and that's difficult for you. Well, there's a risk of fall that could happen from that. Maybe you have someone that you can actually depend on and count on and ask to help so that those falls are prevented to begin with. So.
I love it. So, and he's going to teach so many levels. I mean, obviously they're going to enjoy the socialization, and then they'll learn all about, because he loves to educate. And, yes, we look, sight, and we smell. There's all those sensory aspects of what we do when we drink. And you're not supposed to just gulp it down. Enjoy it, because again, it really is supposed to be sipped, and you talk, and it's not just like, hey, give me some more. Because there's so much that went into just this one bottle. To me, that's my favorite thing. And something you told me on the phone, which I love, you can hear how much he's passionate and how educated he is. You said medical background. What is your background?
So I actually went to medical school and at the Western University of Health Sciences in Pomona, California. I didn't finish. It wasn't the right place for me. But I spent most of my life studying to be a doctor. Actually, that was the first plan for my brother and I to work together. Was he was going to be a surgeon and I was going to be an anesthesiologist. And I think if there was anything that came close, it might have been this, right?
Absolutely. Well, there's so much science in this, right?
Yeah.
And so
Cheers.
what I love is for you all to hear that you all need to know that you never know where your path is going to take you, which direction that you will go into. And you have to be willing to say, oh, this isn't what... Same here. And so maybe that's why you and I connected. I was studying sports medicine, physical therapy, athletic training. The ultimate goal was to be an orthopedic surgeon. And instead, God said, well, I want you to use that for your personal training. I want you to use that to be a director of wellness. But ultimately, I need you to speak and I need you to tell stories. And so the shift in the path happens. Are you willing to take that and say, okay, this is what I'm meant to do. And here we are. This is where the passion project comes into play. But you on the phone said, Monica, I have a great education in wine, but I'm actually not a sommelier.
Yes, that's true. So sommelier really just means anyone who works in wine. But there are various different organizations, the Master Court of Sommeliers or the Wine Spirit Education Trust Foundation, where you can study those things. But a lot of people in wine end up finding it as a second or even third career in their life. And it's one of those things, much like being a coder. It's something you can either do or you can't. And people that are passionate about it, there's an endless wealth of knowledge. No one is ever going to know everything about wine. So it's about finding and following your own passion and then sharing what you learn with others.
Yes, and again, we're never saying to take away from education. Life isn't education, and you're learning every day, and then you just share that, which is what he's doing. So some people want to go that route. My brother did, but there's so many levels, and we have a ton of friends. By the way, shout out to Madrina and Alicia, and I hope that she gets, again, higher, because she's a woman in the industry, which is also more rare.
Excellent.
But she was noticed as a semifinalist in the James Beard.
Oh, wow.
I know, right?
Yeah,
and
that's
so
impressive.
you just never know where this is going to go. I love his education. I hope you have seen and felt his passion. More importantly, come here. Let's put on the screen how you can find him. Coordinates. Again, whether you come to the tasting location where we are, their tasting room, and try these South African wines. Is the Pinotage your favorite? Since that really is what brought you to this?
Certainly our most popular wine. I have different favorites depending on different times of
like
year
asking for your
and
favorite
whom
kid,
I'm
isn't
with. It's the best wine for me is the wine that fits the moment.
It's the moment. And then you drink a little bit, and then you have this pairing. I mean, that's what I love, is really pairing it with food. But again, try the sparkling Sauvignon Blanc, because that's rare. You probably don't have an opportunity to taste that very often. A beautiful place, whether you come to their Main Street location for the tasting room or you go to High Texas and you experience their vineyard. Put them on the list. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers.
Thank you for having
me.
us. No, thank you. This is fantastic, by the way. So try the Pinotage. To all of you, it's been wonderful visiting from Coordinates. We have so much more to show you this week and in our recap video, so you don't want to miss that either, because we are giving you an opportunity to see just a glimpse of some of the unique places that you can see in Fredericksburg, Texas. Don't go anywhere. More.
We'll be right back.